This is a story about power in Cambodia. Those who have it and those who don't. It's also about the power of money and what some call progress in this impoverished land. Right across the country, the poor and powerless are being shoved aside in the rush for so-called development. And it's happening with the complicity of Cambodia's leaders.
So what's happening? Tell me what's happening.
The story begins here in Bangkok Lake, in the heart of the capital, Phnom Penh. 2 years ago, a little-known developer signed a 99-year lease with the council for this 133-hectare site. And they're filling 90% of the lake with sand to build high-rise. The problem for people living around the edge of the lake is, as the sand goes in, the water level rises and their houses go under. Since the beginning, there's been a total lack of transparency about the deal. Opposition parliamentarian Sam Rainsy is quite literally wading into the debate.
We are here to support the people and to protest against this so-called development project that cause so many problems for the people living here.
This is a ridiculous situation.
Ridiculous. No. They don't take into account, the environment. They ignore, or they pretend to ignore, that when they fill in lakes, this is going to cause floods, but they don't care. They want to make profits.
Who's this they you're talking about?
They, some unscrupulous businessmen who have the support of corrupt political leaders.
People here tell Rainsy they've seen nothing like it in 30 years.
They say that this is directly related to the lake, nearby lakes being filled in.
It's not that you've had more rain this year than usual?
No, it is not due to rain.
So it's a pretty miserable existence here at the moment.
Yes, everybody is complaining. Behind the gentle smile, you can perceive the anger.
This is the biggest forced relocation of people since Khmer Rouge times. Over 4,000 families, and it's happening in a, without proper information, without proper consultation.
Dan Nicholson is with the Centre on Housing Rights and Evictions, headquartered in Geneva. They're campaigning for the 4,000 families set to be evicted from villages around the lake. Families who've lived here for years, including many who settled here immediately after the horrors of the Khmer Rouge period.
The whole contract under which it's being done is blatantly illegal, but even though we've gone to court, we can't stop it. There's a total lack of involvement of the community and benefit for the community. Instead, the urban poor are just being shunted out of town while the elites take over with another badly thought out development.
The community's legal challenge was dismissed by the court on a technicality. And for those residents resisting threats and intimidation to leave, the flooding is making daily life extremely difficult. Nicholson believes the company, Shukaku, may be using it as a strategy to force them out.
They've been pumping sand into the lake for the last couple of months, and so when the rains came, all this flooding is much worse than usual at this stage. Kind of a way to force the community out, I guess, those who are staying.
You think so that could be that could be it?
Yeah, well, they've been told, either to go now or your house will be flooded. So.
This enormous development will completely transform this part of Phnom Penh. But finding out anything at all about the company behind it is almost impossible. Shukaku has no office, and they're not even in the phone book. What we do know is that the company director is Senator Lau Meng Kin, a close ally of Prime Minister Hun Sen. The senator is also director of Piapimex, one of the most powerful conglomerates in the country. According to this report released a fortnight ago by the London-based NGO Global Witness, the senator made his millions in logging.
In a forest industry dominated by illegal logging and conflict with local people, Piapimex held the dubious distinction of being notorious amongst the concessionaires for its ruthlessness and the level of destruction inflicted on its concession areas.
On the other side of Phnom Penh is the community of Dacron. It's a market area in a great location. And like the residents around the lake, people have lived here legally for decades. Land titles here are still a mess following the upheaval of the Khmer Rouge years. But under a 2001 law, if people can prove that they've occupied land for more than 5 years, they have possession rights. What's more, Prime Minister Hun Sen specifically earmarked this area as a social concession to be developed in conjunction with the existing residents. But that promise was broken, and it's clear the government is now supporting the developer. Negotiations for adequate compensation have hit a wall. And community leader Chan Vichet knows that this is the beginning of the end. Vichet is on the way to City Hall to see if he can salvage the stalled negotiations.
នៅស្រុកខ្មែរយើងគឺសម្រាប់អ្នកក្រគឺគេមិនសូវជាគោរពប៉ុន្មានទេយើងតែងតែបើតាក់ទងនឹងផ្លូវច្បាប់យើងតែងតែចាញ់គេជានិច្ចបាទបើយើងមានបណ្ដឹងជាមួយនឹងអ្នកមានគឺយើងចាញ់គេទោះបីយើងត្រូវក៏ដោយយើងរស់នៅដែលស្របច្បាប់ក៏ដោយក៏គេចាត់ទុកថាយើងជាមនុស្សម្នាក់រស់នៅខុសច្បាប់ខុសទម្លាប់បាទរស់នៅបែបអនាធិបតេយ្យ
With no one to stop them, Vichet and the other delegates marched straight into the Deputy Governor's office. The Deputy Governor says the company's offer stands, $20,000 per family or a house outside the city at the relocation site. The residents complain that $20,000 is a fraction of the land value for prime real estate in the centre of the city, and the relocation site offers inadequate housing too far from their livelihoods. Mr. Deputy Governor, can you guarantee that these people will be safe, or are they going to suffer some kind of attack in the next few days? So far, nobody hurt. What about tomorrow, the next day? Just one question. Rumours are swirling that tonight is eviction night. I find Vichet at home, a broken man. At midnight, police set up roadblocks and hundreds of officers move into place. Colour-coded T-shirts are handed out to the hundreds of workers the company have trucked in to do their dirty work. At 2 a.m, a car pulls up and axes are handed out to the workers. Around the corner, scores of trucks are standing by to haul away the rubble. In the pre-dawn, the colour-coordinated workers take up positions. And on the dot of 6 a.m, they attack. At every entrance, I'm turned back.
So what's happening? Tell me what's happening. What's happening?
I don't know. It's the order. I don't know.
What's the order?
Yeah, I don't know. Sorry.
The demolition work is swift. Within a few hours, it's all over.
This is the ruins here of Vichet's house. I spoke to him last night at midnight, or just before midnight. He was pretty resigned to losing his place, and here it is, gone.
When the bulldozer driver ploughs through people trying to save their possessions, they strike back. The company's fire extinguishers are used to disperse them. An injured woman is carried out as others salvage what they can. Human rights workers observing proceedings could point to several laws broken here today.
What the company has done with the complicity of authorities, military police and local police is illegal. This was designated a social concession and it was sold to a company which is prohibited. And if you see those buildings behind you, this is next. All these people that have been watching, I'm sure they know they're next. This is a very valuable piece of land. It's a really sad situation. And again, illegal and with the complicity of local authorities.
The workmen on the roof of Australia's new embassy also had a ringside view of the destruction. The building is going up right in the middle of the eviction zone. All around it, communities have been forced out, or will be shortly, even though they have a strong legal claim to be there.
Australians, all let us rejoice, for we are young and free. We have golden.
It's Australia Day at Ambassador Margaret Adamson's residence.
Are you concerned that violent and illegal evictions are going on the doorstep of the new Australian embassy?
Well, of course we have concerns about how the Cambodian government manages the issue of land tenure It's a long-standing issue in the country, and we have concerns which we express to the Cambodian government on a regular basis.
This was right on the doorstep of the new Australian embassy, so it must be doubly embarrassing for you at this stage, no?
I don't find it embarrassing, no. I find it a matter, as I've said before to you, this is a matter which is played out in different parts of the country. So I don't find on the doorstep of the Australian embassy any less deserving of our attention than anywhere else in the country.
Under the 2001 law, don't they have residency rights or possession rights?
It's very difficult to prove, though, isn't it? It's very difficult to prove.
But if they've been there for longer than 5 years, noticeably
exactly
without violence?
Absolutely, absolutely. No, I understand what the principles are, but it is very difficult indeed to actually have the documentation that is accepted to enable those claims to be respected.
Together, the international community pledged $1 billion last year to the Cambodian government. The Global Witness report, Country for Sale, is scathing about the role played by donor countries like Australia.
Cambodia's international donor community has consistently failed to bring the government to book for blatant violations of its commitments to protect the human rights of Cambodians, fight corruption and ensure the protection of land and natural resources.
The land-grabbing frenzy is going on right around the country. Of them all, one case stands out for its brazen abuse of power. The village of Konya is in the remote northeast of the country, near the Vietnamese border. The indigenous Jarai people here are culturally and ethnically distinct from the Khmers and the Vietnamese. They live in tight-knit communities and practice shifting agriculture on their ancestral lands. But the traditional ways are under serious threat. With a combination of lies, intimidation and financial incentives, a well-connected woman is snapping up their land for a rubber plantation. Her name is Keet Colney, sister of the Finance Minister and Deputy Prime Minister. Her husband is Secretary of State at the Ministry of Land Management, which is responsible for registration of Indigenous lands. This footage shows the businesswoman in Konya Village handing out sarongs and cash.
The villagers, in their mind on that particular day, they were not clear whether this was a donation by a rich state party official or whether this was, in fact, money for the purpose of selling the land. So in their minds, they were clear. They were donating from the small grassy hill called the Dombok, and it's approximately 50 hectares. Subsequently, more land has been cleared, and Keet Colney now claims 450 hectares of land.
Dan King is an Australian lawyer advising a team of Cambodian lawyers who have taken on the village's case. He says Cambodian law clearly states that Indigenous land cannot be sold.
It's basically an open and shut case in terms of the documentation and the evidence. It's about the court having the courage to make a very difficult decision against a very high-powered, connected individual to make sure that justice is done.
The villagers of Konya have told their version of events on video. An American filmmaker helped them with the technology, but the villagers acted all the parts and filmed it themselves. The first scene shows the arrival of the company's brokers who want some land. The villagers declined, but were told that Prime Minister Hun Sen needed the land to house disabled soldiers, and if they didn't sell, it would be taken from them anyway. This was a blatant lie, but the villagers felt powerless to resist and agreed to hand over approximately 50 hectares. Then there's the party scene. The villagers killed a pig and the company supplied the beer. And in the middle of the festivities, out comes the ink pad again. Men from the company even went around the village in the middle of the night, waking people up to get their thumbprints. The villagers only realised what it all meant later. But they failed, and the authorities accused them of disturbing the peace and locked up 7 people. I approached plantation owner Keet Colney through her lawyer to request an interview, but was told she was too busy. And at Colney's plantation office near Konya Village, I get a frosty reception. Back in the village, the lawyers are discovering that the community is now divided into those who want to sell more land and those who want to get the land they lost back.
For the first time that we have been working with the villagers, for the first time they are thinking about selling a large piece of land. The whole community, not just a couple of families, but half the community wants to sell the land. That is a serious situation. We won't have a case. There won't be a Konya case if they sell their land.
Crucially, the village chief has turned.
The current village chief was then appointed because he was one of the strongest and most vocal advocates for fighting the case and for getting the land back. Since then, I think he has not seen the case move forward in the courts. As I said, he's obviously been talking to the company, and his position has changed. He no longer supports the case. He is advocating the sale of land, and it is very sad to watch.
While the lawyers try to get him to stay the course and fight the case, he's now a staunch supporter of the company. Some of the villagers are suspicious as to why he changed his mind. But the company is stepping up its efforts to get the community to sell their remaining land. And now the local authorities are offering them more cash and even a school if they agree to sell. Like their compatriots right around this country, the villagers are quickly learning the ways of the modern world, where money talks.